So, hey everyone, welcome to the Unforeseen Journey podcast. I've completely lost count of episodes now. Maybe this is episode 17, 18, I'm not sure. But anyway, I want to share that I was experienced a lot of resistance to coming on and do this today because of time constraints, etc., etc. But I recognize now that I have built something of a habit here, so I need to kind of push into that and also make sure that if I'm going to be here and do this every week, I am talking about something which I think is of value. And so, yeah, what we're going to talk about today is this idea of control and to discuss some concepts of letting go of the things which we can't control and instead leveraging those things which are actually in our control. I'm going to get into various subjects of career, relationships, fitness, nutrition, and really share some thoughts on how you can control the things that are within your control and learn to let go of those things that are out of your control, which is a really hard thing to do. Firstly, a little life update. So got my surgery for my hernias next Tuesday, touch wood. Double hernias, which are just above my penis, which isn't ideal. It's keyhole surgery. So I've been told that can be quite painful in the 10 to 14 days after. I'm going to be restricted in what I do. And I know my nature will be to want to push through, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to kind of have complete rest for the rest of next week, see how I feel. I want to start walking again outside as soon as I can. That's going to be essential for me, I think, in part of recovery. But I'm going to not do any weights or anything for a good few weeks, which is going to be hard because I've been, lifting weights, training consistently in the gym now since I was 19, 20 years old. So I'm 42 now. So that's 22 years of pretty much habit and ritual about working out. And so that's going to be tough. But anyway, that's that. 30-something days, so I'll move back to the flat, which is really exciting. Getting anxious about that, if I'm honest, which is inevitable, I guess, when you think of going through any transitional change, especially moving home. But it is what it is. Like there's, a feeling of beginning again in life, which is probably the theme for me in this last few years. But it feels like a lovely thing to be able to begin again from a place that actually feels like it's me and it's mine. And just super excited to get the space and to have somewhere for Addie and I to share as our own, and to have that environment for me as an individual and also for her as well, and to provide her with the opportunity of one of the plus points, I think, of co-parenting is the fact that she's got kind of two bases and two homes, and to be there and honor her growth and journey in life, and to try and provide her with experiences that I think set her up to navigate life in a way that she feels confident in who she is, and she can thrive in whatever she chooses to do in life. That's really my big goal, and it's really my biggest goal in life. That's a transition I think has been noticeable for me in the last 6 months, is that I kind of didn't prioritize being a dad in the right way, if I'm honest, but recently it is like the highest priority. But below that, I guess, it's probably my mission with what I'm doing here and now and coaching, and that is, to simply help people live a more fulfilling and authentic life, and to remove the shackles of all the things we're told we should be doing, and to connect with something a bit more deep and meaningful. And it's been lovely to continue to realize that mission myself professionally. And it's really made me not get attached to the outcomes and to just go, right, how can I contribute more? How can I help people more in this journey through what I'm talking about? So yeah, it's exciting. And I've realized that through that mission, there is the flexibility to do different things. So coaching is the main means of income I have at the moment, but through that mission, there are other ways that I can achieve that through me doing this and my kind of email and even social media for me. So social media for me now has become less about marketing and more about mission. And that's the thing that shifted, is that because I'm viewing it in that way, it doesn't feel fake. Like, yeah, I'll drop some things in about the fact I'm taking coaching clients, but 90% of what I talk about on there is with the intention of helping me pursue my mission. And that is one of contribution and helping people grow. So here we go today. Control. So this is probably my biggest lesson from coaching 40 plus people through COVID. This time that probably for many of us was the first time that we had things that we thought were within our control pulled back from us and taken away. And we realized that, wow, we're not in control of a lot of these things that are going on in our lives. I was fortunate enough, and I believe it's fortunate enough now, to have experienced some things. If you listen to my other podcasts about the stuff I went through with the police and having things pulled away from me, that I'd already been exposed to this idea of, the actual things which you are in control of and the things which you aren't. And that was a humbling lesson. And that was my first kind of trip down the mental health depression role. And as I spoke to a therapist at the time, it was pointed out to me, it goes, well, up until this point in life, everything you've wanted, you've got. Everything you've put your energy and effort to, you've achieved. And to have something kind of pulled away from you, which is what happened with my kind of police experience, to feel not in control was really, really humbling and really disorientating for me. And so I think for COVID, many people got to experiencing that for the first time. And I think that's part and parcel of why there's been such a seismic shift in how people are choosing to live their lives now, and why there's more and more interest in these kind of conversations. Certainly if you look at like the common narrative, like the biggest podcaster in the world is Joe Rogan, who is very much about an alternative way of living. And we're all kind of, I think, questioning now because we've had these things pulled away. And what I want to talk about today is the people that I think did the best through COVID were the people who were able to learn this lesson, which we're going to talk about today, which is the idea of control. And the sooner we surrender to the things which aren't in our control and push all of our energy into that which we can control, the experience we have of our lives improves immeasurably day to day, straight away. So if this is something you can get your head around, something you can start doing, this isn't like a long game. This is like an immediate thing. So if you can start reframing this, seeing things as they are, putting your energy into the things that truly matter, you're going to just feel better tomorrow if you can start doing this. So hopefully for one or two of you, you might get something out of this. So this idea of control and what we can and can't control was first brought to me through my own personal experiences. And then there was a further thing that I read at the start of COVID from Precision Nutrition, which is the guys who I got my nutrition coaching with. They're awesome. So they're very much about habit-based nutrition coaching. And they shared this article of like things we can do right now to control how we feel. And it was like this thing. It had this sphere of control. And in the notes, I'll put a link to the article so you can see it. And what's interesting to me is this sphere of control kind of has 3 stages. And I actually spoke to my clients around this specific sphere of control last night. And after that discussion, I went away from it. And I felt like, in truth, the sphere of control as I see it now is not 3 stages. There are simply 2. There is that which is within your control and that which is not in your control. And the grey bits in the middle, which is where you can exert some control over, if we shift from focusing on an obsession or attachment to a specific outcome here and more into the inputs required to achieve that outcome in a non-attached way, it's a lot more of a healthy, effective way to achieve what you want. So I'm going to talk through this now, and it's always hard to talk through something that is quite visual, but let's give it a go and see what happens. Hopefully it will make sense. So I think the common thing is through life is that we believe that so much more is within our control than it actually is. We would like to think that we can exhibit some kind of control over the weather. Such a British thing, isn't it? Fucking weather. Like we can't control it, but yet we choose to believe we can, and we choose to moan about it. And maybe it's something like just fundamentally British about moaning about the weather, but it's still something to consider. We have no control over it. Secondly, one of the other things I think we like to think we control that we can't are people's actions and behaviors. We like to think that people should conform to a certain idea or expectation of how they should behave in a certain situation. And we do that because we've compiled this database of behaviors as we would expect. And then we filter everyone else's behavior through that kind of database. And if it doesn't align with it, there's something that happens in us. And we're like, well, they didn't behave. Oh, I expected. And we get offended by it. But really, who are we to tell anyone how they should and shouldn't behave? Yes, there are societal norms. Yes, there are manners and things like that, and people just being kind, and then other people are just dicks. But we have absolutely no control over those things. And the sooner we accept that and let go of it, the far better we're going to feel day to day. Another thing we're not in control of that we'd like to think we are, that's something simple as like our body shape. Now, this isn't talking about muscle mass or body fat, but there is a part of this that's a bigger conversation, is that genetically we all kind of follow a certain lineage and arrive at this place, have inherited the genes of our predecessors. And that's going to mean we're capable of looking and being a certain way. Equally in terms of athletic performance, like if you're not made the right way, you're never going to be a sprinter. And so I think the sooner we can accept that we've been dealt the genetic lottery we have in our bodies and how we look, the better we're going to be. That's not to say I don't think we should want to continue to improve how we move, look after how we look, increase the capacity for feeling better through movement and looking after your diet. But I think we've got to let go of this idea of reaching some idealized body image that may well be beyond our absolute genetic potential. If we can do that, we can get comfortable with what we can achieve, and that can feel so much more fulfilling long term. So those are some of the things we can't control, but for many of us, I definitely have in my life, being honest with you, I believe that I can control them. So secondly, there are things which we would say are somewhat in our control, but my view on this is that either it's an absolute, and really the outcome of these things is not within our control, and so therefore it's a no. But there is like a bit of a grey area where we can say, okay, these things still matter. How do I get towards where I want to be without getting attached to the outcome? And I think that's very much about shifting from focusing on believing we have control over what this is, and instead focus on the inputs and the behaviors that are within our control that will hopefully give us that, but it's not guaranteed. So what can that be? It can be things like your relationships. That could be things like your work. It could be things like your environment. It could be things like your schedule, day to day. Things like that, right? So things that they're important to us, right? It's important to me to try and have a great relationship with Adeline. That's front of mind for me. But I can't guarantee that. And I've got to let go of that attachment to that outcome and just believe that through my behaviors and actions and the things which are in my control, that will happen. Similarly with coaching and income at the moment, I definitely have a desire to grow more as a coach, earn more, to provide me with the wealth to have more experiences with Adeline, to feel comfortable financially every month. But if I get ridiculously obsessed on that outcome, it doesn't serve me, because obsession about it doesn't guarantee that it's going to happen. It's there, I know where I want to get to, but instead what I'm doing is focusing purely on those things which are within my control. Another thing here to talk about, which is key to me, is things like your environment. And I think we've all got to kind of agree that we probably function best in an optimal environment for us. And that's going to be entirely different upon who you are as a person and kind of what stimulates you and what blocks you energetically. And we do have some control over that. but we've got to accept that sometimes in life we don't. And if we're in that place of not having control over all these things, our schedule, the perfect blend of coffee in the morning versus sunshine, we've got to pull back to the variables which are within our control that can help produce the best possible chance of us succeeding in that which we want to do. And it's the resistance to accepting that I think is often the trouble. It's often where the problems come, when we try and resist to that and go, oh, if I only had this, if I only had that, if I only had this. Yeah, fucking no shit. We all want these things. We all want to function probably in this beautiful, optimal environment. But that just isn't the nature of the beast. That isn't the nature of many of our lives now. So we've got to push through that and understand that we've got to perform regardless of that. We've got to be mindful of the environment that we would want to be in. But if that is going to purely dictate our capacity to achieve, then we're selling ourselves short. And I'm sure if you talk to anyone who you would consider to be a high achiever, someone who leads their field, they sure as shit have an optimal environment. And maybe now they're in a position to exist within that. But they didn't get there from just being in that environment from day one. They've had to craft that and build that over time. And they had to pursue that probably for years. And I guess like this kind of like culture we exist in, this like optimization culture, has made us obsessed with this idea of all these things which need to be in place. You have a morning routine that consists of 30 steps before you actually do anything. That's kind of fucked, right? There are fundamentals around the things which you probably need to do every morning to set you up for success in the day, but pulling it back to principles and foundations which get you in that place, which are within your control, or what you need to do. And so if we kind of are accepting that these many, many things that were once those which we thought were within our control are not in our control, what is actually in our control? And really it's three simple things. Firstly, it's your mindset. Secondly, it's your actions. And thirdly, it's the amount of effort you apply to those actions. And the hierarchy of the things to address here is really the base level of it all being your mindset. Your mindset is the operating system for everything you do in this world. It's the filter through which you look at everything, that you make every decision. And it's really important to understand is that your mindset is very malleable. It can be changed. It can be improved, if that's the right word. But changes in mindset require a certain amount of desire to unpack that which you are. And for many of us who are connected to the ego self, the idea of unpacking that is quite a thing to overcome. But in truth, if you want to improve your mindset, that's what you've got to do. If you're not willing to accept that the way in which you are maybe operating from is the thing that's flawed, then you're only just going to keep trying to battle with the things on top of that, layer things in, put these different things in without going, okay, maybe the problem isn't out there, isn't these things that actually aren't in my control, it's this thing that is in my control, which is my mindset. If I can change my mindset, I become a lot more adaptable, a lot more resilient, a lot more, anti-fragile, which I think is a great term, then these things which are outside of us that are not in our control become a lot less impactful on us day to day because we have a stronger, more resilient mindset. And so I guess if there's one thing from this, and again, going back through COVID, the people who really thrived were the people who really investigated their mindset in this time. I had quite a few clients get into stoicism, a bit of philosophy, and they really grew through that experience. They really grew their mindset. And I would actually say if you wanted to start somewhere in terms of looking at a philosophical approach to become more resilient, stoicism is the place to go. So if we've improved our mindset, we will therefore inherently improve our capacity to act clearly and in the way that we should. And our effort in those actions will be a lot more increased because we are coming from a place which is clear and intentional. And so I guess, I keep circling back to mindset. Every conversation now is mindset, mindset, mindset. But this is the truth. The problems you want to solve in life are mainly down to your mindset, whatever they are, whether that's your career, your relationships, your body composition, your nutrition, your fitness even. It's here. It's like 80%. I think one of my mentors, Matt Connolly, said a while ago, and I completely agree with it. But it's the thing which most of us shy away from because it's really hard to do, but it's so rewarding when you can start working on it and start identifying these kind of blind spots and seeing these things you're doing. So yeah, mindset. I guess this feels like a start of another bigger conversation, so I'll leave that for another show. So yeah, mindset, actions, effort. Those are the things that are in your control. And if you understand that day to day, you will have an immediate shift from creating perspective around the things which are worth your energy and those which are taken away from your energy. So if we think about your career, work, and if you have to work in an environment surrounded by people who are maybe negative, not on the same wavelength as you, if you approach it now and you understand that you're in no place to control them, like there's nothing you can do. They are going to be existing in their own little operating system of the world, regardless of your influence. You might want to think you can influence them, but every time you're spending energy on that, you're taking energy away from focusing on yourself and that which is when you're in control. Also within your career, again, I've spoken about this a little bit a while ago, but you probably have aspirations of achieving an outcome. Maybe that's a tangible moment. It's a tangible point of income. Maybe it's just a thing, right? You can measure it. And I think the key is to understand that that's good to have. I think it's really good to have these powerful things you want to work towards, but inherently you've got to pull back and understand that to achieve that outcome, you've got to focus relentlessly on these things which are within your control, which is your mindset, your actions, and your effort. And ultimately, what that's going to lead to over time is you achieving that outcome. But we get so fixated upon this thing, this moment, this snapshot, that we fail to recognize that it's these little things we do that are within our control that compound over time to lead us towards the outcome. And so I see this a lot in behavior change and fitness or whatever it is that people come in with all the energy and they kind of go, well, I want to go from 0 to 100, and they try and make that jump. And that A is impossible and B is sustainable as well. I've just done an Instagram post on this. So it's putting those things back and going, okay, what are the small changes we can make that are entirely within your control? And those have got to be the place we start. And any change has to be something that is within your control. If you're trying to make these changes to your life that are dependent upon other people, then inevitably you're setting yourself up to fail and put your own success or failure in the hands of other people. This is something I've done in my life. It's still something I'm practicing now. It's realizing that my own success or failure is entirely within my control. And my success or failure can be directly measured from the habits and behaviors I'm adopting and pursuing with relentless, consistency now. Okay. Relationships. This is a big one for me. I've made a lot of mistakes in relationships in my life. And I see this commonly now is that the thing we think we can do in a relationship is control the other person's love for us. But you can't do that. You can't control it. But what you can do is focus on your mindset, your actions, and your effort. And if you focus on that towards a relationship, you're going to set up an environment where you are receiving love and you're giving love and it feels open and it flows. But if you look at this common in relationships, people get paranoid. They try and put conditions on the partner, expectations of what they should and shouldn't do. And these, I think, are just control mechanisms coming from a place of insecurity, because you probably know you haven't been consistent in your actions and your effort in your actions to build a safe environment of love, trust, and support. So yeah, big lesson for me in my life there, sharing with you. Fitness, though fitness coaching is a big part of my life still. And what I say to everyone now, because I coach people still just in fitness, and they'll come in with a specific outcome. I'm like, look, I can't guarantee you the outcome. No one can. But I can guarantee you, if we focus on these, these patterns, these behaviors, this exposure to these, whatever it is you want to achieve over time, you're more than likely to achieve the outcome anyway. So say, for example, just to give you an example, so say someone comes in and say, well, I want to get 150 kg back squat. Maybe they're 100 kg at the moment. And, all likelihood, yeah, we'll probably be able to get there over time. But it's going to take some time, right? So I think the mistake we commonly make is go, well, I want to achieve that outcome by 3 months from now. And that's the measure of success. And what I would kind of pull back from that and say, okay, look, let's say that's what we want to pursue. And I'm happy that you want to pursue that. And I actually believe that the pursuit of this goal isn't about the outcome. It's about what you learn on the way to the pursuit of the outcome, if that makes sense. So just talking about the squat analogy, what says, okay, what are the behaviors that we're going to have to do to set you up for success to maybe achieve that in a certain time frame, but not getting attached to that outcome? Well, we probably have to get you squatting twice a week. We have to make sure you're sleeping properly, you're getting recovery in, you're supporting your nutrition with sufficient protein. You're not getting pissed every weekend and getting smashed. If we can do these behaviors that are within your control, then you will probably get the outcome. But don't get fixated on the outcome. It's there. It's good to have it in your peripheral, but you've got to do it in such a way you're not attached to it. And what you are attached to are the behaviors, actions, and the effort you apply to those behaviors and actions that will probably lead to that. Nutrition, similarly. So body composition is a big thing. Like, I still want to look good naked. Nothing wrong with that. I know that those changes to body composition, I can't guarantee them, but I can set up an environment, I can set up a way of eating that will likely yield that outcome. But one of my red flags now, when I have coaching consultations with people and they're like, oh, I want to lose 3 kg a month every month. And I'm like, well, that's at the top end of what is sustainable, really is the top end. And if we are just going to go on this journey, and if that's the only success metric for you, then that's not really what I want to do as a coach. Because for me, that's the only measure of success you will see. And we can't guarantee it. However, we pull it back to the behaviors and habits that you can do, such as, eating protein at every meal, like being conscious around the processed food you're eating, or whatever the things are we do in terms of nutrition. Those things are going to probably lead to that outcome, but there are a lot more moments along the way you can measure your success and kind of guarantee that the success is going to happen because it's within your control. So yeah, a number of different ways we can talk about that there, but I think in truth, it's just really trying to understand that which is within your control. And as I was speaking about this today, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to come across in a way to say, oh, well, just basically it doesn't give a shit around what you do then. That's not what I'm saying. I think I still have goals. I still have ambitions. I still have things I want to achieve. But I understand truly in all of those things, I can't guarantee the outcome. I can't get attached to that thing. I've got to get attached to the things which within my control, the inputs, as this was described to me, as opposed to the outputs. And if you can do that, you will get success. And the truth is, you will experience a lot more success along the way because you will see the improvements, the tangible improvements in you pursuing these behaviors day to day. And so as I wrap up today, it feels like a prudent and obvious thing for me to talk just for a couple more minutes about mindset, because I think that is, for me, the biggest lesson as a coach and as an individual, is that if you can work through some of the things you've got to get through there, that's going to set you up for so much more success. And where do we start with this? In broad strokes, you've really got to start investigating the beliefs you're holding on to now, which A, aren't true, and B, don't serve you. And we accumulate these through our lives, through various events and occurrences. We build this back catalogue of moments which somehow we believe define us now and forevermore. And if you think about it, it's absolutely nuts that we think that what's happened can truly dictate that which what is. But from a purely science point of view, there's this idea of what you say is like neuroplasticity, and how the brain is wired is how it becomes. And so it is almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, is that our behaviors and patterns prior to this moment mold us into who we are, but we can rewire ourselves. We can change the wiring in the brain, but it's got to come from a place of starting with a belief that we can. And this has to start with a conversation around letting go of that which we are holding on to, which no longer serves us. So as I wrap this up today, the question I would ask of you is to consider the beliefs you have around yourself, the labels you have attached to yourself to create an out for you. Oh, that's not the kind of person I am. That's just bullshit. And I want to tell you that because I am doing everything that I told myself I never would be able to do in a way that feels energetically easy and great. And I love doing it. But that's because I've had a shift in my mindset, and I've had to pull apart everything I was and kind of go, well, actually, who am I under this? All these things that have accumulated over the years that have formed this story about who I was, I've pulled away. And you can do that too. I believe you can. I don't think you have to experience the things perhaps I've experienced, but it's got to start with you believing you can. And I believe you can. Otherwise, I won't be saying this to you. I won't be talking to you. And I'm talking to you, which is weird as I say this. So, yeah. If you're struggling with the idea of letting go of the things which aren't in your control, that's probably an indication that you need to work on your own mindset and pulling back to really understanding the things which are within your control. And it's a lot to talk about here in terms of self-love, self-care, the identity you carry around of who you are. But I think the stronger or more confident you are truly in who you are, the less you actually kind of care about these other things as well, because you're like, I'm me, I know I'm me, I'm happy being me. I don't have to worry about controlling these other things because I know who I am behind all these things. So that's another thing to leave you with today. Cool. I'm going to wrap this one up. I wanted this one to be a bit quicker. I want to try and keep these 30, 40 minutes at the most. I will see how I go next week. All right, I'll see how I go next week in terms of pain levels and stuff like that. I do want to maintain the rhythm of this. It feels important for me to do that. But if I don't, and there's no episode from me, you know that's probably why. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me on there, because I'll probably post a load of stories and updates for your amusement about the situation. But yeah, if anything's resonated with you today about this and you want to have a conversation with me, very much this is the foundational kind of principles of what I coach now around this kind of idea of pulling back your beliefs, questioning who you are, really examining the things that have led you to be in this place now, and to really have a conversation about making changes moving forward. You know, I'm not a therapist. I can't begin to even think about discussing trauma with you, but what I can do with you is push through these beliefs, these limiting beliefs you've had. We pull them apart and we have a conversation about really how we can start making these changes together. And I'll support you in them. I'll encourage you. I'll hold you accountable, but you've still got to do work. And that's the truth of coaching, unfortunately. As much as I would want to, and I do want to, help everyone I work with just do it all so they get to where they want to get to. The change that you will have to go through to get to where you want to get to is always going to be on you. And it's just massaging it. So it's just small enough change that you can push through the discomfort and sustain it, not just on your best days, but on your worst days too. And so, yeah, that's it. I hope you have a great week, and thank you for taking time to listen. Enjoy the coronation weekend. Bit controversial, but I'm not really that bothered about it. Take care of yourselves. Thank you.